Jinho stood at the entrance of the Celestial Academy and felt his heart race. The building stretched up into the sky, made of materials that seemed to shift colors with every passing second. Ships of all shapes and sizes floated above, bringing students from across the galaxy. He adjusted his bag on his shoulder and took a deep breath. This was it, the moment humanity had worked toward for decades. Earth had finally been accepted into the Galactic Coalition, and 20 humans had been chosen to attend the most prestigious university in known space. Jinho was one of them, selected for his engineering skills. But standing here now, watching alien beings of impossible shapes and sizes move past him, he felt very small. A creature made entirely of blue crystal floated by, humming a song that made his teeth vibrate. Behind it walked something that looked like a massive mantis, its 4 eyes fixed straight ahead. Everywhere he looked, there were beings that defied explanation, and all of them seemed to look at him and the other humans with barely hidden contempt. The opening ceremony was held in a grand amphitheater that could hold thousands. Jinho walked in with the other human students, staying close together like fish in a vast ocean. The room was already filling up. Species he had only seen in training videos were everywhere. The Velthara, tall and elegant with silver skin that glowed softly. The Kresh, muscular and armored like walking tanks. The Mindari, beings of pure energy contained in crystalline shells. A human girl named Hieri walked beside him. She was here to study medicine. "They're all staring at us," she whispered. "I know," Jinho replied. "Just keep walking." They climbed the steps of the amphitheater, looking for seats. Every section they approached seemed to suddenly become full. Students who had been sitting with empty spaces beside them would shift, making it clear the humans were not welcome. Jinho felt his face grow hot with embarrassment and anger, but he kept his expression neutral. One of the other human students, Doyun, tried to sit in an empty row near the middle. A Kresh student hissed at him. "These seats are saved. Find somewhere else, primitive." Doyun backed away, his hands clenched into fists. The human group was being pushed higher and higher up the amphitheater toward the cheap seats in the back. Jinho could see the pattern clearly now. This wasn't accidental. They were being shown their place in the galactic order, and that place was at the bottom. The ceremony was about to begin. Floating lights dimmed, and a holographic display appeared above the stage. Jinho scanned desperately for any open seat. His eyes landed on a section near the front, roped off with energy barriers. The royal section. It was reserved for students of noble birth from the various empires and kingdoms. Several seats sat empty there. Of course those would be empty, Jinho thought bitterly. They would never let humans sit there. He turned to head back up when something grabbed his wrist. The grip was surprisingly strong, like iron wrapped in silk. Jinho spun around, startled, and found himself staring into eyes the color of twilight. She was Velthara, he realized immediately. Her skin had that distinctive silver glow, and her hair flowed down her back in shades of deep violet. She wore robes that seemed to be made of liquid starlight, but what caught him most was her expression. There was no disgust there, no contempt. Instead, her eyes held intense curiosity. "Sit here," she commanded. Her voice carried authority that made it clear this was not a request. What?" Jinho stammered. She pulled him toward the royal section. The energy barrier parted at her approach. "You are looking for a seat. There are seats here. Sit." The entire amphitheater seemed to notice at once. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Heads turned. A wave of shocked silence spread through the crowd like ripples on water. "I don't think I'm allowed," Jinho started. "I am Princess Arin of the Velthara Empire," she said, still holding his wrist. "If I say you may sit here, then you may sit here." She guided him to the seat beside her own and finally released his wrist. Jinho sat slowly, feeling thousands of eyes on him. His fellow humans were staring from the upper sections, their faces showing confusion and concern. The noble students around him looked like they had just witnessed something obscene. A male Velthara with similar features to Aaron leaned over. "Sister, what are you doing? That is a human." "I am aware of what he is," Aaron replied calmly. She turned to Jinho. "What is your name?" "Jinho," he managed to say. "From Earth." "Earth," she repeated as if tasting the word. "The Death World. I have read about your planet. Water covers most of it, yet you have no gills. The atmosphere changes constantly, yet you have no adaptive skin. Predators evolved alongside you, yet you have no natural weapons. How does your species still exist?" Jinho was not sure how to answer that. "We adapt. We learn. We build tools." "Fascinating," Aaron said. She seemed genuinely interested, not mocking. "Your species should have died out millions of years ago, yet here you are, reaching for the stars." The ceremony began, preventing further conversation. A holographic figure appeared, welcoming students to the academy. It spoke of the great tradition of learning, of the importance of cooperation between species, of building a better future for the galaxy. Beautiful words, Jinho thought, but the reality he had just experienced told a different story. Throughout the ceremony, he could feel hostile stares on his back. The Kresh prince, sitting 2 rows behind, radiated anger that was almost physical. Other noble students whispered to each other, shooting glances at Aaron and then at him. But Aaron seemed completely unbothered. She sat with perfect posture, her attention on the ceremony, occasionally glancing at Jinho as if he were a puzzle she was trying to solve. When the ceremony ended, students began to file out. Jinho stood to leave, but Aaron spoke again. "Tomorrow, classes begin. You are studying engineering, yes?" "How did you—" "I reviewed the list of human students," she said simply. "We share advanced theoretical physics. I look forward to seeing what a human mind can do with the material." She stood and walked away, her attendants following. The other noble students gave Jinho looks ranging from disgust to outright hostility before leaving as well. Jinho stood alone in the royal section for a moment, trying to process what had just happened. Then he hurried to find the other humans. Hieri grabbed his arm as soon as he reached them. "What was that about? Did she threaten you?" "No," Jinho said slowly. I think she's curious about us." "Curious?" Doyen shook his head. "Did you see how everyone else looked at you? You just made enemies, friend." Jinho glanced back toward where Aaron had disappeared. "Maybe. But maybe she's the first one here who actually wants to understand humans rather than just dismiss us. Or maybe," another student said darkly, "she's just toying with you. These aliens have been in space for thousands of years. We've barely left our solar system. Why would a princess care about us?" Jinho did not have an answer to that, but he remembered the look in Aaron's eyes. That had not been mockery. That had been genuine interest. As they left the amphitheater, heading toward their assigned dormitories, Jinho could not shake the feeling that his life had just changed in ways he could not yet understand. Princess Aaron had seized his wrist and given him a seat among the elite. The question was, why? Tomorrow would bring classes, and perhaps some answers. But tonight, he lay in his small dorm room, staring at the ceiling, and wondered what he had gotten himself into. The first morning at the Celestial Academy started early. Jinho woke to an artificial sunrise that gradually filled his room with light. He dressed in the standard academy uniform, a gray jumpsuit that adjusted itself to fit his body perfectly. The material felt strange against his skin, almost alive. The cafeteria was chaos. Species with completely different dietary needs all trying to get breakfast at the same time. Jinho grabbed something that looked like oatmeal but tasted like cinnamon and electricity. He sat with Doyun and Hyeri at a table far from everyone else. The other species kept their distance. "I heard some creche students talking last night," Doyun said quietly. "They were placing bets on how long before all the humans quit and go home." "Let them bet," Hyeri said, though her voice was tight. "We belong here just as much as they do." Jinho was not so sure about that, but he kept the thought to himself. Advanced theoretical physics was his first class. The classroom was enormous, with seats designed to accommodate wildly different body types. Jinho found a spot near the back and sat down. Within minutes, the room filled with students. None sat near him. Then Arin entered. She moved with grace that made it seem like she was floating rather than walking. Her attendants followed behind her, two Velthara guards who looked at everything with suspicious eyes. She scanned the room, spotted Jinho, and walked directly to him. "This seat is occupied?" she asked, gesturing to the empty space beside him. "No, it's—" Jinho started. She sat down. Her guards positioned themselves nearby, clearly unhappy with the arrangement. The entire class watched in stunned silence. "Good morning, Jinho from Earth," Arin said pleasantly, as if she had not just caused another scandal. "Good morning, Princess," he replied. "Just Arin is fine. We are fellow students here." The professor entered, a being that looked like a floating collection of geometric shapes. It began the lecture immediately, discussing concepts that made Jinho's head hurt. Quantum probability fields, multidimensional energy matrices. The mathematics involved were far beyond anything taught on Earth. Arin took notes on a holographic display that appeared in front of her. Jinho tried to keep up, writing in an old-fashioned notebook he had brought from home. The professor moved quickly, assuming all students had the same base knowledge. Halfway through the lecture, the professor presented a problem. For the past 3 semesters, students have attempted to solve this theoretical equation. It involves calculating the energy requirements for stable wormhole generation at the quantum level. Who would like to attempt it? Silence. Even Arin, Jinho noticed, looked stumped. The professor displayed the equation. It was massive, filling the entire holographic board. Jinho stared at it, trying to make sense of the symbols. Many of them were alien notation he had learned only recently. But the underlying structure looked familiar somehow. He saw the pattern. It was hidden under layers of complex alien mathematics, but the core problem was something he had seen before, back on Earth, in a different form, but the same essential challenge. His professor at university had called it a constraint satisfaction problem. "May I try?" Jinho heard himself say. The classroom went silent. The professor's geometric shapes rotated in what might have been surprise. "You are human, yes?" "Yes." "You believe you can solve what generations of students could not?" "I would like to try." The professor gestured to the board. "Proceed." Jinho stood and walked to the front. His heart pounded. This was probably a terrible idea, but something in him refused to back down. He picked up the light stylus and began working. He ignored the alien notation where he could, translating the problem into mathematical language he understood better. He broke the massive equation into smaller pieces, solving each part separately. It was a technique human engineers used when faced with overwhelming complexity. Make it simple. Solve the small problems first. Arin watched intently. Other students whispered to each other. After 20 minutes, Jinho stepped back. I think this works." The professor examined his solution. The shapes that made up its body spun faster and faster. "This is unorthodox. You completely ignored standard quantum field notation." "I used a different approach," Jinho admitted. "Breaking it into smaller sub-problems and solving iteratively." "This method is primitive," a creche student called out. "He probably made a mistake." The professor continued examining the work. Finally, it spoke. "There is no mistake. This solution is mathematically sound, crude perhaps, inelegant by our standards, but correct. A shock went through the classroom. Jinho returned to his seat, trying to ignore the stares. Remarkable, Aaron said softly. You approached it like building a machine, piece by piece. That is how we do things on Earth, Jinho replied. We are not advanced enough for elegant solutions. We just find what works. After class, Aaron did not leave immediately. Walk with me, she said. It was not a request. They walked through the academy gardens, a vast space filled with plants from 1,000 worlds. Her guards followed at a distance, close enough to protect but far enough to give the illusion of privacy. Why did you choose to sit next to me yesterday? Jinho asked. And today? I told you. I am curious about humans. But why? We are primitives compared to your people. Everyone here thinks we don't belong. Aaron stopped walking and turned to face him. My people have been spacefaring for 12,000 years. We have technology that seems like magic. We can manipulate energy with our thoughts. We live for centuries. By every measure, we are superior to humans. Jinho waited for the insult he was sure was coming. And yet, Aaron continued, we have become stagnant. We solve problems the same way our ancestors did. We think the same thoughts. We follow the same patterns. When I saw you in that amphitheater looking for a seat, being rejected by everyone, I saw something we have lost. What? Hunger. You climbed up from a death world with no advantages, no psychic powers, no natural defenses. You built everything from nothing. Your species should not exist, and yet you reached the stars anyway. That takes something special. Stubbornness mostly, Jinho said. Aaron laughed, a sound like wind chimes. Perhaps, but I believe it is more than that. Today you solved a problem that stumped students far more educated than you. You did it not with superior knowledge, but with a different way of thinking. That is valuable. They continued walking. Jinho felt strange. This alien princess, who could have anything she wanted, was interested in him not despite his humanity, but because of it. The other nobles are angry with you, he said. I heard them talking after you left yesterday. Let them be angry. They are afraid. Of what? Of change. Of the idea that perhaps the old ways are not the only ways. Of what it means if humans, the newest and weakest species, have something to teach us. She paused. There is someone you should be aware of. Prince Vex of the Kresh Dominion. He was in our class today, the one who called your method primitive. I noticed him. He is influential and believes strongly that humans should not have been admitted to the coalition. He sees your presence here as an insult. Be careful around him. Why are you warning me? Because I chose you, Aaron said simply, and the Velthara do not abandon those we choose. Over the following days, a pattern developed. Aaron would sit with Jinho in classes. They would talk during breaks. She asked endless questions about Earth, about human culture, about how they survived on such a harsh world. In return, she taught him about galactic politics, about the various species and their histories. Jinho learned that the galaxy was not the peaceful utopia he had imagined. There were factions and rivalries thousands of years old. The Velthara and Kresh had fought wars in the distant past. The coalition was more like an uneasy alliance than a true union. He also learned that humans had a reputation. They were seen as lucky survivors who got spaceflight through random chance rather than merit. Most species believed humans would fail at the academy and prove they were not ready for galactic society. They want us to fail, Jinho told Hieri one evening. Then we won't, she replied firmly. We work twice as hard. We proved them wrong. The other human students were divided about Aaron's attention to Jinho. Some thought it was good that at least one alien was willing to talk to them. Others worried it was making their situation worse, painting a target on all their backs. Doyen was in the second camp. That creche prince, Vex, he's been talking to other students, turning them against us, and it's because of you and the princess. What should I do? Jinho asked. Tell her to leave me alone? I don't know. Just be careful. But Jinho found he did not want Aaron to leave him alone. Their conversations were the highlight of his days. She challenged him, made him think in new ways, and despite their differences, despite the vast gap in their civilizations, they understood each other. One afternoon, after another class where Jinho had contributed an insight that surprised the professor, Aaron said something that stuck with him. You know what I think? I think the galaxy has been wrong about humans. You are not lucky survivors. You are survivors because you refuse to give up, no matter the odds. That is not luck. That is strength. Jinho looked at her, at this alien princess who had chosen to see past prejudice and fear. Thank you, he said quietly. Do not thank me yet, Aaron replied. The real challenges are still to come. She had no idea how right she was. The announcement came during breakfast, 3 weeks into the semester. The headmaster's voice echoed through the cafeteria, coming from speakers embedded in the walls. All first-year students, attention. The traditional survival trial will begin in 2 days. You will be assigned partners and transported to designated survival planets. You must survive for 7 days using only basic equipment. This trial has been a tradition at the Celestial Academy for 3,000 years. Partnerships will be announced this evening. Prepare accordingly. The cafeteria exploded into excited chatter. Jinho looked at Doyun and Hyeri. They both looked worried. 7 days on an alien planet, Hyeri said, with partners we don't choose. Who do you think they will pair us with? Doyun asked. Probably no one. We'll end up in all human teams. But when the partnership assignments appeared on the public boards that evening, Jinho stared in disbelief at his name. Next to it was another name that made his stomach drop. Jinho of Earth, Princess Aaron of Velthera. The crowd around the board erupted in shock and anger. Students pushed forward to confirm what they were seeing. A human paired with a princess? It was unthinkable. This is an outrage! Prince Vex's voice boomed over the noise. Someone has tampered with the assignments. A human cannot be paired with royalty. It demeans the entire trial. Jinho turned to see Vex pushing through the crowd, his armored bulk making students scatter. His face was twisted with anger. The assignments are made by the Academy computer. A professor's voice cut through the chaos. They cannot be changed. Partnerships are final. Then the computer is broken, Vex snarled. He pointed at Jinho. This primitive will get her killed. Pair me with the princess instead. I will ensure her safety. The assignments stand, the professor repeated firmly. Vex turned his glare on Jinho. If anything happens to her because of your incompetence, human, you will answer to the Creche Dominion. He stormed away, his followers trailing behind him. The crowd slowly dispersed, but Jinho felt hostile eyes on him from every direction. That night, Aaron came to his dormitory. Her guard stood outside while she entered his small room. It was the first time she had visited the human quarters. You requested this partnership, Jinho said. It was not a question. I did, Aaron admitted. I accessed the assignment system and adjusted the parameters. The computer believes we are the most compatible pairing based on our classroom performance and psychological profiles. You hacked the system? I prefer to think of it as creative problem-solving, she said with a slight smile. Besides, I wanted to see what a human could do in survival conditions. Your species evolved through constant survival challenges. This will be interesting. Everyone is angry. Vex threatened me. Vex threatens everyone. Ignore him. She sat on his bed, the only place to sit in the small room. I have been on 3 survival trials already during my education on my homeworld. I have all the equipment we need, advanced survival gear, climate suits, food processors. We will be comfortable. What planet are we being sent to? That is announced tomorrow, but they are all Class 4 hostile environments. Extreme weather, dangerous flora and fauna, limited resources. They are designed to challenge students. Jinho felt nervous energy building. What if I let you down? Aaron looked at him seriously. You won't. I have faith in human adaptability. Besides, this will give us a week away from the academy politics. Consider it a vacation. She left shortly after, leaving Jinho alone with his thoughts and worries. The next day, they learned their destination, Planet Cora 7. The briefing described it as a jungle world with unpredictable weather patterns, carnivorous plants, and aggressive predators. Atmospheric conditions included high humidity, frequent electrical storms, and temperature swings from freezing to boiling within hours. Sounds like Earth, Doyun joked weakly. He had been paired with a Mindari student who looked just as unhappy about the arrangement. They were given basic survival packs, water purifiers, emergency shelters, basic medical supplies, and communication devices for emergencies only. Additional equipment could be brought at each student's discretion. Aaron arrived at the shuttle bay carrying a large case of advanced Velthara technology. Climate control units, energy shields, food synthesizers, and environmental scanners. Jinho had only his standard pack and some basic tools he had fabricated in the academy workshop. The shuttle flight to Cora 7 took 6 hours. Aaron spent most of it reviewing her equipment and explaining how each device worked. Jinho listened, but part of his mind was elsewhere, remembering camping trips on Earth, survival training videos he had watched, lessons from his grandfather about living off the land. When they landed, the jungle hit them like a wall. The humidity was crushing, the air thick enough to chew. Massive trees stretched hundreds of feet high, their canopy blocking most of the light. Strange sounds echoed from every direction, calls and screams from creatures they could not see. Aaron activated her climate control unit. A soft blue field surrounded her, keeping the oppressive heat at bay. She offered Jinho a second unit, but he declined. I need to adjust naturally, he said. If the equipment fails, I want to be acclimated. Suit yourself. She activated her scanner, studying the terrain. There is a water source 3 kilometers north. We should establish our base camp there. They started walking. The jungle was dense, plants growing so thick they had to cut through with energy blades. Within an hour, Aaron's climate control unit started flickering. What's wrong? Jinho asked. Interference, she said, frowning at the device. The planetary magnetic field is stronger than the briefing indicated. It's disrupting my equipment. The unit died completely an hour later. Suddenly, Aaron was experiencing the full force of the jungle. Sweat immediately beaded on her silver skin. Her breathing became labored. This is unpleasant, she admitted. Move slowly, Jinho advised. Don't fight the heat. Let your body adjust. Drink water regularly. They continued, but now Jinho took the lead. He noticed Aaron struggling with the terrain, her elegant movements becoming clumsy as exhaustion set in. By the time they reached the water source, she was clearly suffering. We need shelter, Jinho said, eyeing the darkening sky. A storm is coming. I have an emergency shelter, Aaron said, reaching for her equipment case. But when she opened it, water poured out. The case had not been sealed properly, and the humidity had destroyed most of her electronics. No, she whispered, staring at the ruined equipment. It's okay, Jinho said, already moving. I'll build us something. Using his basic tools and materials from the jungle, Jinho constructed a shelter. He found large leaves that were waterproof, vines that were strong and flexible, and branches that formed a sturdy frame. Within 2 hours, they had a shelter that would keep them dry and protected. The storm hit just as he finished. Rain poured down in sheets, lightning cracking across the sky. Inside their shelter, they sat together, listening to the fury outside. I brought all that equipment, Aaron said quietly. And it's all useless. But you, with just basic tools, built this. How? Practice, Jinho said. Earth is not a gentle planet. Humans learn to build or die. It's that simple. Over the next 3 days, the pattern continued. Aaron's advanced technology failed repeatedly. The planet's environment was too unpredictable, too hostile for devices designed for controlled conditions. But Jinho thrived. He found edible plants by testing them carefully, remembered old techniques for water purification, built traps for small animals, and created fire using friction. Aaron watched everything with fascination. Your species really did crawl up from the mud, didn't you? You know how to survive with nothing. We had to, Jinho replied. We didn't have energy manipulation or psychic powers. We just had our hands and our brains. On the 4th day, disaster struck. Aaron was gathering water when something struck her leg. She cried out and fell. Jinho ran to her and saw a creature slithering away. Something like a snake, but with crystalline spines. It bit me, Aaron gasped. Her leg was already swelling, turning dark colors. Jinho recognized the symptoms. Venom. He grabbed his medical kit and worked quickly. He made a cut near the wound to let some of the venom out, applied a tourniquet above the bite, and gave her the anti-venom from the kit. But he knew it might not be enough. The anti-venom was generic, not designed for this specific creature. I need to find the plant, he muttered. What plant? Aaron asked weakly. There's always a plant. On Earth, where you find venomous creatures, you usually find plants that can counteract the venom nearby. It's evolution. Prey animals need defenses. He searched the area frantically, looking for anything that might help. Finally, he found it. A plant with purple leaves that grew right near where the creature had been. He crushed the leaves and made a paste, applying it to Aaron's wound. This might not work, he admitted, but it's the best chance we have. Aaron looked at him with those twilight eyes. I brought you here. If I die... You're not going to die, Jinho said firmly. I won't let you. He stayed up all night, monitoring her condition, changing the paste regularly, keeping her hydrated. By morning, the swelling had gone down. The dark colors were fading. She would survive. When Aaron woke, she looked at Jinho sitting beside her, exhausted but alert. You saved my life, she said softly. You gave me a seat when no one else would, he replied. I owed you one. That was just a seat. This was my life. Same thing to me. The remaining 3 days of the trial were easier. Aaron recovered her strength, and together they explored their section of the jungle. She taught him about galactic history, about the stars and civilizations beyond Earth. He taught her about human resilience, about never giving up, about finding solutions with limited resources. On the last evening, they sat by their fire, watching the alien sunset paint the sky in colors that had no names. I understand now, Aaron said, why humans reach the stars. It's not luck. It's because you never stop trying. You never accept defeat. Every problem is just another challenge to overcome. We're stubborn, Jinho agreed with a smile. No, you're survivors. True survivors. And maybe that's what the galaxy needs right now. When the shuttle came to retrieve them, other students emerged from the jungle looking haggard and defeated. Many had failed the trial, calling for early rescue. But Jinho and Aaron walked out together, tired but triumphant. Prince Vex watched them return, his expression dark with fury. Jinho met his gaze and did not look away. Something had changed during those 7 days. He was not the intimidated human who had arrived at the academy. He had saved an alien princess on a death world. He had proven himself. And this was only the beginning. The academy was different after the survival trial. Word had spread about what happened on Cora 7, how the humans' primitive methods had succeeded where advanced technology failed. How he had saved Princess Erin's life using nothing but basic knowledge and improvisation. Some students looked at Jinho with new respect. Others, particularly those close to Prince Vex, doubled their hostility. The cafeteria remained divided, with humans eating alone in one corner. But now, occasionally, a brave student or two would sit near them, curious about these Death-Worlders. Jinho noticed the change most in his classes. Professors no longer dismissed his contributions out of hand. When he raised his hand, they listened. His different approach to problems was starting to be seen not as primitive, but as innovative. Erin continued to sit with him daily. If anything, the trial had strengthened their friendship. She no longer treated him like a curiosity. They were equals now, partners who had survived together. "There is a cultural exchange event tonight," Erin told him one afternoon as they walked between classes. "Students showcase their civilizations, food, art, technology, history. Your people should participate." "We don't have much to showcase," Jinho said. "Our technology is centuries behind everyone else." "Then show them what you do have. Show them Earth." That evening, the human students gathered to discuss it. There were 18 of them now. 2 had quit after the first week, overwhelmed by the hostility and academic challenges. Those who remained were tougher, more determined. "We can't compete with their technology," Yeri said. "We'll look pathetic." "Then we don't compete," Jinho replied. "We show them something they don't have. Our culture, our art, our food." "Earth food?" Doyen laughed. "Half these species can't even eat our food, different biochemistry." "It's not about them eating it, it's about showing them who we are." They worked through the night, preparing. Jinho used the fabrication lab to create a display about Earth's ecosystems, showing how humans had adapted to every environment on the planet. Hyeri prepared information about human medicine, how they had fought diseases and injuries without advanced technology. Doyen created a presentation about human engineering, the bridges and buildings and machines they had built through pure ingenuity. The cultural exchange was held in the Academy's Grand Hall, the same place where Jinho had first met Erin. Species from across the galaxy had set up displays. The Velthara showed their energy manipulation, creating beautiful light sculptures that floated in the air. The Kresh demonstrated their military technology, weapons that could level cities. The Mindari displayed their consciousness-sharing abilities, letting others experience their collective thoughts. The human display looked humble by comparison. A small table with some pictures of Earth, samples of human art, and a few basic tools. But as the evening went on, students began to stop and look. "This is your home world?" a crystalline student asked, looking at images of Earth's oceans, mountains, and forests. "Yes," Jinho replied. "It looks violent. Those waves, they would crush our structures. Those mountains, the temperature extremes would kill our people." "Earth is a harsh planet," Jinho admitted. "But it made us who we are." Princess Erin arrived with her entourage. She examined the human display carefully, then turned to address the gathered crowd. "I have walked on a death world with this human," she announced. "I have seen what his people can do. They survive where others would perish. They build with nothing. They never surrender." She looked at Jinho. "Perhaps we advanced species have forgotten what true survival means." Her words created a stir. Some students nodded thoughtfully. Others looked skeptical. Prince Vex, standing near his own elaborate display, sneered openly. "Survival is for primitives," Vex declared. "We evolved beyond such concerns. We have technology to protect us from hostile environments. We don't need to adapt because we control our surroundings." "And what happens when your technology fails?" Jinho asked quietly. "It doesn't fail. Kresh engineering is perfect." "Nothing is perfect. Everything fails eventually." Vex stepped closer, looming over Jinho with his superior height and bulk. "Are you challenging me, human?" "I'm stating a fact. Technology is a tool, useful but not infallible. Adaptation is survival, that never fails. Then perhaps we should test that theory. Vex smiled cruelly. The combat assessments are next week. Physical challenges. I look forward to seeing how your adaptability holds up against superior strength and speed. He walked away, leaving the threat hanging in the air. That was foolish, Doyen said later. Vex is a Kresh warrior. They're bred for combat. He'll destroy you. Maybe, Jinho said, but I can't back down. If I show fear, every human here will be seen as weak. The week before the combat assessment was tense. Jinho trained in the academy gym, trying to prepare. But watching the Kresh students practice, seeing their raw power and speed, he knew strength alone would not be enough. Aaron found him in the gym late one night, exhausted from training. "You cannot beat Vex with force," she said simply. "I know." "Then why train this way?" "I need to be ready. I need to last long enough to find an advantage." "The advantage is in your head, not your muscles. Humans don't win by being stronger. You win by being smarter, by lasting longer, by refusing to quit." She was right, and Jinho knew it. So he changed his training. He studied recordings of Kresh fighting styles, looking for patterns. He practiced endurance, building his stamina. He learned to conserve energy, to be efficient with every movement. The day of the combat assessment arrived. Students gathered in the arena, a large open space with various terrain features. Matches were being held throughout the day, testing different skills. Combat was optional, but refusing would mean losing points in the overall assessment. When Jinho's name was called, paired against Prince Vex, the crowd grew silent. Everyone wanted to see this. The primitive human against the Kresh warrior prince. They stood on opposite sides of the arena. Vex wore light armor that enhanced his already impressive physique. Jinho wore the standard academy combat suit and nothing more. "You can withdraw," the referee announced. "This is training, not a death match." "I'm not withdrawing," Jinho said. "Neither am I," Vex growled. "I'm going to enjoy this." The match began. Vex charged immediately, incredibly fast for something so large. Jinho dodged, barely. The Kresh's fist cratered the ground where he had been standing. The crowd gasped. That hit would have broken bones. Jinho did not try to fight back, not yet. He ran, using the terrain features for cover. Vex chased him, destroying obstacles in his path with pure force. But chasing required energy, and Jinho had spent a week learning to conserve his. "Fight me, coward!" Vex roared. Jinho watched, waited. He saw what he was looking for. Vex's breathing was getting heavier. He was used to quick victories, overwhelming opponents with immediate force. He was not used to prolonged effort. Meanwhile, Jinho's breathing remained steady. Human endurance, built through millions of years of persistence hunting, kept him going. He could run all day if needed. Could Vex? The match continued. Vex grew more frustrated, his attacks wilder and less controlled. Jinho dodged and evaded, occasionally landing light hits that did no damage but cost Vex more energy in response. 20 minutes in, Vex was visibly tired. 30 minutes, he was struggling. His armor was heavy, designed for short, brutal fights. It became a burden in an extended match. 40 minutes in, Vex swung at Jinho and missed completely, stumbling with the momentum. Jinho saw his chance. He swept Vex's legs, and the Kresh prince went down. The arena was silent. Jinho stood over his opponent, who was gasping for breath on the ground. "Yield," the referee said quietly to Vex. "No," Vex snarled, trying to get up, but his body would not cooperate. Exhaustion had claimed him. "The match goes to the human," the referee announced. "Victory by exhaustion." The crowd erupted. Some cheered. Others booed, but everyone was stunned. A human had defeated a Kresh prince. Jinho helped Vex to his feet, offering his hand. Vex slapped it away and limped from the arena, humiliated and furious. Later, in the medical bay, Hyeri treated Jinho's minor injuries. "You realize you just made a powerful enemy?" she said. "He was already my enemy. At least now he knows I'm not helpless." Aaron arrived, her face showing concern and pride in equal measure. "That was reckless. It was necessary." "It was brilliant," she corrected. "You turned his strength into weakness. You fought a human fight, not a creche fight." Over the following days, something shifted at the academy. Other students began to see humans differently. They had witnessed something impossible. A primitive death worlder defeating a superior species through sheer endurance and strategy. Professors started referencing human problem-solving in lectures. Students asked the human contingent questions about Earth and survival. The cultural exchange had planted a seed, and Jinho's victory had watered it. But not everyone was happy with this change. Prince Vex withdrew from public view, his followers surrounding him. Rumors spread of his anger, his shame, his desire for revenge. One evening, Doyen approached Jinho with concern on his face. "I heard something. Vex and his friends are planning something. I don't know what, but they're meeting in secret." "Let them plan," Jinho said. "We've survived worse than playground bullies." But Aaron was worried. "Vex's family is powerful. If he acts against you, it could become a political incident." "What can he do? We're all students here." "Students, yes. But some of us are also heirs to empires and kingdoms. We have resources, connections. If Vex wants to hurt you, he has ways." Jinho thought about that. On Earth, he had just been an engineering student. Here, he was representing his entire species, caught in politics he barely understood. Every action had consequences beyond himself. "Then I'll be careful," he promised. "But I won't hide either. Humans didn't get to the stars by hiding." That night, lying in his dormitory, Jinho thought about how much had changed. He had come to this academy expecting to struggle just to keep up. Instead, he was proving that humans had value, not despite their primitive nature, but because of it. Adaptability, endurance, determination. These were humanity's gifts to the galaxy, and slowly the galaxy was beginning to notice. The night started like any other. Jinho was working late in the engineering lab, designing a more efficient water purification system for his advanced projects class. Most students had left hours ago, leaving the building quiet, except for the hum of machinery. He was focused on his work when he heard voices, loud, angry voices coming from a storage room down the hall. Jinho knew he should ignore it, mind his own business, but something made him pause and listen. "Cannot allow this to continue. The humans are becoming accepted. Soon they will have full rights in the coalition." Jinho recognized that voice. Prince Vex. "The plan is set for the Grand Symposium," another voice replied. "All the human delegates will be gathered in one place. The environmental systems will malfunction. A tragic accident. No one will suspect sabotage." Jinho's blood went cold. They were planning to kill the human students. "What about the princess?" a third voice asked. "She has become attached to the humans. She will investigate." "Let her investigate," Vex said. "She will find nothing. The systems will show a natural failure. By the time anyone realizes the truth, it will be too late to matter. And if someone discovers our involvement, then we eliminate them too. The Council will thank us for removing the human threat before it could grow. Better to act now than wait for these primitives to pollute the galaxy further." Jinho slowly backed away, trying to move silently. He needed to record this, get evidence, warn someone. His hand went to his datapad, activating its recording function. But his foot caught on a cable. The small sound echoed in the quiet hallway like a gunshot. "Someone's there!" a voice shouted. Jinho ran. He heard the storage room door crash open behind him, heavy footsteps pursuing. The engineering building had multiple exits. but they were all far away. He needed to reach somewhere public, somewhere with witnesses. A blast of energy scorched the wall beside his head. They were shooting at him, in the academy. This was not a simple conspiracy. These people were willing to commit murder right here and now. Jinho dodged into a side corridor, then another. He knew this building better than his pursuers. He had spent weeks exploring it, learning its layout. That knowledge saved his life now. He burst through a maintenance door and found himself in the service tunnels that ran beneath the academy. Dark, cramped spaces filled with pipes and cables. He ran, using his datapad's light to navigate, hearing his pursuers split up to cover multiple routes. His human endurance kept him going. He ran for 20 minutes straight, taking random turns, trying to lose them. Finally, he stopped in a junction point, gasping for breath, and checked his datapad. The recording was there. Proof of the conspiracy. But it would mean nothing if he died down here in the tunnels. He sent the recording to 3 places: his own encrypted storage, Aaron's private message system, and the Academy's anonymous safety reporting channel. If they caught him, at least the evidence would survive. Then he kept moving. The tunnels eventually connected to the residential buildings. If he could reach his dormitory, there would be other students, witnesses. They could not kill him in front of everyone. But when he emerged from a service access near the human dormitory, they were waiting. 5 figures in dark clothes, faces covered. Not just Kresh he saw, other species too. This conspiracy went beyond Vex's personal vendetta. "Give us the datapad," one of them demanded. "I already sent the data," Jinho lied. Well, partly lied. He had sent it, but they did not need to know that. "Kill me and it changes nothing. Then we'll make sure you can't testify." They attacked. Jinho was exhausted from running, but adrenaline pushed him forward. He dodged the first attacker, used a basic move he learned in the combat assessment to trip the second. But there were too many. A blast caught his shoulder, burning through his uniform. Pain exploded through his body. He stumbled, fell, tried to get up. They surrounded him. This is it, he thought. This is how humans end at the academy. Murdered in the dark by aliens who fear us. Then a brilliant silver light erupted around them. Aaron appeared, energy crackling around her hands, her guards flanking her with weapons drawn. "Step away from him," she commanded. Her voice carried an authority that made even the attackers hesitate. "Princess, this doesn't concern you," one of them said. "A conspiracy to murder students under my father's protection doesn't concern me. I think it does. The humans are a threat. The only threat I see is you. Lower your weapons, now." The attackers looked at each other. Then together, they ran. They scattered in different directions, disappearing into the night. Aaron's guards pursued 2 of them, but the others escaped. Aaron knelt beside Jinho, her hands glowing as she examined his injury. "Can you walk?" "I think so," he managed. She helped him to his feet. The pain in his shoulder was intense, but he had felt worse. During the survival trial, he had learned to push through pain. They made it to the medical bay. Hieri was there, finishing a late shift. Her eyes widened when she saw Jinho's injury. "What happened?" "I'll explain later," Jinho said. "Just fix me up." While Hieri worked, Aaron's datapad chimed. She looked at it, and her expression grew dark. "I received your recording. I have already sent it to the Academy authorities and to my father. This will not stand." "What will happen?" Jinho asked. "There will be an investigation. Those responsible will be identified and punished. But—" She paused. "You have made powerful enemies. People who fear what humanity represents." "What do we represent?" "Change. The old order has existed for thousands of years. Species know their place, understand their role. Then humans arrive, breaking all expectations. You solve problems differently. You survive when you should fail. You challenge assumptions simply by existing. Some people cannot accept that. Over the next 2 days, the investigation moved quickly. Aaron's father, the Emperor of the Velthara, personally intervened. One by one, the conspirators were identified. Some confessed when confronted. Others tried to flee and were caught. Prince Vex was arrested in his quarters. The evidence was overwhelming. Messages, plans, meetings. He had recruited students from multiple species, all united by their fear and hatred of humans. The Grand Symposium, where the attack would have occurred, was only 3 days away. If Jinho had not overheard that conversation, if he had not gotten evidence, all 20 human students would have died. The academy held an emergency assembly. The headmaster, an ancient being whose species Jinho could not identify, addressed everyone. A conspiracy has been uncovered. A plot to murder students based solely on their species. This is the gravest violation of our principles. Those responsible will face the full consequences of galactic law. Prince Vex stood in restraints on the stage, his face showing defiance and rage. I regret only that we failed, he declared. Humans are a plague. They will destroy the order we have built. You will see. You will all see. The only plague, the headmaster replied, is prejudice and fear. This academy was founded on the principle that all species can learn from each other. You have betrayed that principle. Vex and his co-conspirators were expelled and remanded to coalition security. But the damage was done. The conspiracy had exposed something ugly at the heart of the academy. Many students were complicit through their silence, their subtle hostility, their passive agreement with Vex's ideology. The human students gathered in Jinho's room that night. They were shaken. They had known people did not like them, but this was different. This was organized murder. Maybe we should leave, one student said quietly. Go back to Earth. We're not safe here. If we leave, they win, Hieri argued. They get to say humans can't handle the academy. But can we? Doyun asked. Can we really stay here knowing people want us dead? All eyes turned to Jinho. Somehow, without planning it, he had become their unofficial leader, the one who had proven humans could compete, who had survived an assassination attempt, who had exposed the conspiracy. We stay, Jinho said firmly, not because it's easy, but because it matters. Earth fought for decades to join the coalition. Humanity sacrificed and struggled to reach the stars. We don't throw that away because some people fear change. But the danger? There's always danger. That's life. We're humans. We evolved on a death world. Danger is what we do best. Hieri smiled slightly. When did you become so inspirational? Must have learned it from Aaron, Jinho replied. The princess had visited him several times since the attack. She blamed herself for not seeing the conspiracy sooner, for not protecting him better. But Jinho did not blame her. She had saved his life and helped expose the plot. That was enough. There's something else, Doyun said hesitantly. I've been hearing rumors. The conspiracy here was just part of something bigger. There are factions in the Galactic Council itself who want humanity removed from the coalition. Of course there are, Jinho said. Change always faces resistance. But that's their problem, not ours. We're here. We're staying. And we're going to prove that humans belong among the stars, whether the galaxy likes it or not. The next day, classes resumed. The atmosphere was different now. Students who had ignored the humans before now nodded in greeting. Some even approached to apologize for their silence, their complicity in the hostile environment. Not everyone changed. There were still those who glared, who muttered, who made their hatred known. But they were quieter now, more cautious. The conspiracy's exposure had shown that such attitudes had consequences. Aaron found Jinho between classes. Walk with me? They went to the gardens, to their usual spot beneath an alien tree with blue flowers. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. "Thank you," Jinho said finally, "for saving me. You saved yourself. I merely arrived at the right moment. I heard your father is pushing for reforms in the coalition. New protections for member species, especially newer ones like humanity. He is. This incident has made many people reconsider their assumptions. The conspirators came from multiple species united by fear. That fear came from somewhere. It was enabled by policies and attitudes that treated some species as lesser. Will it change? Slowly. Change always comes slowly. But yes, I believe it will change. You changed it, Jinho. By being here, by refusing to quit, by proving what humans can do." He looked at her. This alien princess who had chosen him, who had defended him, who had become his closest friend in this strange place. "Why did you really grab my wrist that first day?" She smiled. "I told you. I saw something the galaxy had forgotten. Hunger, drive, the will to survive against all odds. But there was something else too." "What?" "I saw the future. I saw what humanity could become if given the chance. A species that refuses to accept limits, that adapts to anything, that never gives up. The galaxy needs that. We have grown comfortable, stagnant. Humans remind us that survival is not guaranteed, that we must keep fighting, keep growing, or we will fade away. That's a lot of pressure to put on one species. You can handle it. You're human. Pressure is what you do best." They sat together as the alien sun set, painting the sky in colors Earth had never known. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The grand symposium would still happen with increased security. Classes would continue. The investigation would go on. But tonight, Jinho allowed himself to feel hope. Humanity had survived its first real test in the stars. They had faced hatred and conspiracy and had emerged stronger, not because they were superior, but because they refused to give up. That was the human advantage. Not strength or speed or technology, simply the stubborn refusal to accept defeat. And as Jinho was learning, sometimes that was enough to change the entire galaxy. The Grand Symposium was the Academy's most important event of the year. Students from all species would present their research, demonstrate new discoveries, and engage in academic discourse. It was meant to be a celebration of learning and cooperation. Security had been increased tenfold after the conspiracy. Guards stood at every entrance. Scanning systems checked everyone who entered. The headmaster had assured all students that they were safe. But Jinho felt uneasy as he walked into the massive convention hall. Too many people, too many places to hide. Despite the arrests, he could not shake the feeling that danger still lurked. The human students had worked together to create a presentation about comparative survival strategies. They would show how different species approached hostile environments and what each could learn from the others. It was diplomatic, educational, and designed to demonstrate humanity's value without threatening anyone. Aaron found Jinho before the presentations began. "Are you nervous?" she asked. "A little. Public speaking was never my strength." "You will do fine. Just remember, you are not speaking for yourself. You are speaking for Earth." "That doesn't help my nerves," she smiled. "Then think of it this way. You have already survived an assassination attempt. A presentation should be easy by comparison." The symposium began. Species after species presented their work, advanced mathematics that hurt to think about, technology that seemed like magic, discoveries about the nature of reality itself. The level of knowledge was staggering. When it was the humans' turn, Jinho walked onto the stage with Hyeri and Doyun. The massive screen behind them displayed images of Earth, of humans surviving in deserts and tundra and jungles. "We are humanity," Jinho began. His voice amplified across the hall. "The newest species in the Galactic Coalition. We do not have the advanced technology of the Velthara. We cannot manipulate energy with our minds. We lack the physical strength of the Kresh. By most measures, we are the weakest species here." He paused, letting that sink in. "And yet, we survived on a planet that should have killed us. We built civilizations without any natural advantages. We reached the stars through determination alone. Today, we want to share what we learned, because survival is not about strength or technology. It is about adaptation." The presentation continued. They showed how humans had learned to survive in every environment on Earth, how they had overcome diseases, natural disasters, and their own limitations, how human engineering had created solutions with minimal resources. The audience was engaged, asking questions, taking notes. Even species that had shown hostility before seemed interested. This was what the Academy was supposed to be about. Sharing knowledge, learning from each other. Then the lights flickered. It was brief, barely noticeable. But Jinho's instincts, honed by weeks of living in a hostile environment, screamed danger. The air circulation system made a strange noise, a hiss that did not belong. Jinho's eyes went to the vents. Something was wrong. He could feel it, that same sense that had warned him in the survival trial, that had made him listen to the conspirators' conversation. Then he smelled it, a chemical scent, faint but growing stronger. "Gas," he said quietly to Hyeri. Then louder to the audience. "Everyone stay calm. Something's wrong with the environmental system." Some students laughed, thinking it was part of the presentation. Others looked confused. But those near the vents were starting to notice the smell, too. An alarm blared, emergency lights activated. The headmaster's voice came over the speakers. "All students evacuate immediately. Environmental system failure. This is not a drill." Panic erupted. Thousands of students tried to reach the exits at once. The organized symposium became chaos in seconds. But Jinho noticed something. The gas was affecting different species differently. The crystalline beings were already collapsing, their forms dimming. The Velthara were stumbling, disoriented. Even the massive Kresh were slowing down, their movements becoming sluggish. The human students, however, were still standing. They felt the gas, felt it burning their lungs and making them dizzy, but they were not collapsing. "Earth's atmosphere," Doyun said, realization hitting him. "We evolved with constant exposure to different gases, pollutants, variations in air quality. Our bodies are more resistant." "The exits are jammed," Hyeri called out. "Too many students trying to leave at once." Jinho looked around. Students were falling now, unable to reach safety. The gas was spreading faster than anyone could evacuate. This was the sabotage Vex had planned. But someone else had activated it despite the arrests. "We need to shut down the ventilation system," Jinho said. "Stop the gas from spreading." "The control panel is on the other side of the hall," Doyun replied. "Through that." He pointed at the crowd of panicking aliens. Jinho did not hesitate. He ran into the chaos, pushing through the crowd. His lungs burned, his vision blurred, but he kept moving. Human endurance, the ability to push through pain and keep going when the body screamed to stop. He reached the control panel. It was designed for species with different physiology, but basic engineering was universal. He found the ventilation controls and shut them down. The hissing stopped, but the gas was still in the air. Students were still collapsing. They needed to clear the building fast. Jinho ran back to where the other humans stood. "We need to help them. We're the only ones still mobile." The human students spread out. They grabbed fallen aliens and dragged them toward exits. They cleared paths through the crowd. They worked together, coordinating through shouted instructions, moving with purpose while everyone else panicked. Hyeri used her medical training to prioritize who needed help first. Doyun used his engineering knowledge to find alternate exits that were less crowded. Jinho organized the others, making sure every section of the hall was covered. It took 30 minutes of exhausting work. 30 minutes of breathing toxic air, of carrying beings twice their size, of refusing to stop despite every muscle screaming in protest. But eventually the hall was cleared. Every student was outside, being treated by medical teams. The human students emerged last, coughing and exhausted. They collapsed on the grass outside the convention center, their bodies finally giving in to the strain. Security teams swept the building. They found the sabotage quickly. Someone had overridden the safety systems and flooded the hall with a gas designed to incapacitate most galactic species. The humans' resistance had been unexpected. Not immunity, but enough tolerance to remain functional while others fell. Later, in the medical bay, the full scope of what happened became clear. Without the humans' intervention, many students would have died. The panic, the cramped exits, the toxic gas, it would have been a massacre. The headmaster visited the human students personally. You saved lives today, hundreds of lives. I find myself at a loss for words. We did what anyone would do, Jinho said, though his voice was hoarse from the gas exposure. No. Most species could not have done what you did. The gas would have incapacitated them immediately. Only humans had the resistance to remain mobile, and only humans had the will to run back into danger to save others. News of the incident spread across the Academy, then across the Coalition networks. Vid recordings showed human students dragging aliens twice their size to safety, while more advanced species collapsed. The images were powerful, undeniable proof of humanity's value. Aaron came to see Jinho that night. Her silver skin was still pale from the gas exposure, but she was recovering. You came back for me, she said softly. I fell near the stage. I remember seeing you, dragging me toward the exit. You could have saved yourself and left. That's not what humans do, Jinho replied. We don't leave people behind. Why? It would have been logical to save yourself first. Maybe. But humans aren't always logical. We're social. We evolved in tribes. Everyone mattered. Everyone had value. That instinct is still in us. She sat beside his bed. The investigation found the saboteur, a student named Kira, from a species I will not name. She confessed immediately. Said she was inspired by Vex's ideology, wanted to finish what he started. Will this ever end? Jinho asked tiredly. Will there always be someone who wants us gone? Probably. Change frightens people. But look at what happened today. Humans proved their worth in a way no one can deny. You saved lives while others panicked. That means something. Over the next few days, the Academy transformed. Students who had barely acknowledged the humans before now stopped to thank them. Professors praised their quick thinking and endurance. Even species that had been openly hostile showed grudging respect. A formal ceremony was held to recognize the human students' actions. They received medals of honor, the first humans ever to earn such recognition from the Coalition. The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. Jinho gave a short speech, uncomfortable with the attention, but knowing it was necessary. We did not do anything special. We saw people in danger and helped. That is what any decent person would do, regardless of species. Maybe that is what the galaxy needs to remember. We are all people. We all matter. And when we work together, when we see past our differences, we can accomplish anything. The applause was genuine and sustained. Even the skeptics were convinced. Humanity had earned its place through action, not words. But the impact went beyond the Academy. News of the incident reached Earth. Jinho's family sent messages, proud and terrified in equal measure. Humanity's leaders saw opportunity. If humans had unique advantages, even small ones, they could leverage that into real power and influence in the Coalition. Private messages came from other species, too. Scientists wanting to study human physiology, governments interested in survival training programs. companies seeing economic opportunities. Humanity was no longer dismissed as lucky primitives. They were now seen as specialists in adaptation and resilience. Doyen summed it up one evening in the common room. "We came here as the weak link. Now we're the survival experts. How did that happen?" "We stopped trying to be like them," Yeri said. "We embraced what makes us different." "And we proved that different does not mean inferior," Jinho added. "Just different. The galaxy had forgotten that." Aaron visited often in the following weeks. She and Jinho spent hours talking about the future, about what humanity could become with full coalition support, about reforms needed to prevent more conspiracies, about building a galaxy where every species had value. "My father is proposing major changes to coalition law," she told him. "New protections for member species, harsher penalties for discrimination, mandatory integration programs." This incident pushed him to act. "Will it pass?" "With enough support, yes, and you have given us that support. The images of humans saving aliens are everywhere. Public opinion has shifted. The Council cannot ignore that." One night, standing in their usual spot in the gardens, Aaron said something that surprised him. "I am proud of you. Of all humans, you came to a place that did not want you, faced hatred and violence, and responded not with anger but with courage and compassion. That is remarkable." "We're just doing what we know how to do," Jinho replied. "Surviving, adapting, helping each other." "That is exactly what I mean. You make it sound simple, but it is the hardest thing in the universe. To face hostility with dignity, to respond to violence with compassion. To never give up even when everyone says you should." "You grabbed my wrist that first day," Jinho said. "You gave me a seat when no one else would. Everything that happened came from that moment." "Then I am glad I trusted my instincts. You have changed the Academy. You have changed the Coalition. And I believe you will change the entire galaxy." "That's a lot of pressure for one species." "Good thing humans handle pressure well." They both laughed, the sound carrying through the alien night. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. There would always be new challenges. But tonight, Jinho allowed himself to feel accomplished. Humanity had stood at the brink and refused to fall. They had proven themselves not through force or technology, but through the simple act of being human, and that, he realized, was the most powerful thing of all. 3 months had passed since the Grand Symposium incident. The Celestial Academy looked the same from the outside, but everything had changed within its walls. Jinho walked through the main corridor, and students nodded greetings as he passed. Some even stopped to chat, asking about Earth or sharing their own experiences. The human students no longer ate alone in the cafeteria. They sat mixed among other species, part of the community rather than outsiders tolerated at its edges. But change had come with costs. Princess Aaron sat in the garden, their usual meeting place, when Jinho found her. She looked tired, her silver skin less luminous than usual. "More meetings with the Council?" he asked, sitting beside her. "Endless meetings," she confirmed. "My father's reforms are facing resistance. The old families fear losing power. They say humans are being given special treatment, that we are disrupting thousands of years of tradition." "Are we?" "Yes, and that is exactly what needs to happen." She turned to look at him. "But it comes at a price. My family is facing political attacks. Some call my father weak for supporting your species. They say I have been manipulated by primitive emotions. I'm sorry. I never wanted to cause problems for you." "Do not apologize. This needed to happen. The coalition was rotting from within, comfortable in its prejudices. You forced us to confront that. But confronting it does not mean everyone is happy about it." She had been recalled to her homeworld twice in the past month for intense political negotiations. Each time she returned more exhausted, more worn down by the battles she fought on humanity's behalf. "Maybe I should speak to your father." Jinho offered. "Tell him it's not worth damaging your family's position." "And prove my detractors right? That humans will fold under pressure?" "No." Her voice was firm. "This is bigger than one family's political comfort. This is about the future of the galaxy." The reforms were slowly passing through the Coalition Council. New laws protecting member species from discrimination, requirements for integration programs at all major institutions, penalties for sabotage motivated by species hatred. Each law faced intense debate, but the public opinion had shifted enough that opposing them openly was becoming political suicide. The images from the symposium had done that. Humans saving aliens while more advanced species panicked. Those images had spread across every coalition world, impossible to ignore or dismiss. But not everyone was convinced through compassion. Some saw opportunity. The Academy had implemented new programs based on human survival techniques, endurance training, adaptive problem-solving courses, resource management under scarcity conditions. What humans had been doing naturally was now being taught as valuable skills. Professor Kale, who taught advanced engineering, approached Jinho after class one day. "I want to collaborate with you on a research project, comparing human and Velthera approaches to structural design. The efficiency differences are remarkable." "I'm honored, Professor." "You should be. 6 months ago, I did not think humans belonged here. I was wrong. That is difficult to admit, but necessary. Your species has perspectives we have lost over millennia of technological reliance." Similar conversations were happening across the Academy. Humans were no longer students to be tolerated, but colleagues to be learned from. The shift was profound and widespread. Do-Yun was thriving in this new environment. He had formed a study group with students from 5 different species working on quantum computing problems. "They actually listen to my ideas now," he told Jinho excitedly. "They don't dismiss them as primitive. They engage with them." Hieri had been invited to join an advanced medical research team studying adaptive immune responses. They want to understand how human immune systems handle such variety of threats. It could revolutionize vaccine development for the entire coalition. But success brought new pressures. More human students were being admitted to the Academy, fast-tracked through the application process. Earth's government saw the opportunity and was pushing hard to increase humanity's presence in coalition institutions. "They are moving too fast," Aaron warned during one of their conversations. "Change needs time to settle. If humanity pushes too hard, too quickly, you will create backlash." "I know. I have been telling Earth's representatives that. They do not listen. They see an opening and want to exploit it." "That is human nature, I suppose. Seize opportunities aggressively." "It is also what worries me. We are good at surviving, at adapting. We are less good at understanding when to slow down, when to let others adjust." The concern proved justified when a delegation from the Kresh Dominion arrived at the Academy. They came officially to observe the new programs, but everyone knew the real reason. They wanted to assess whether humans truly posed a threat to the established order. The delegation was led by High Commander Vash, a Kresh war hero with a reputation for brutal honesty. He attended several classes, observed human students, and took extensive notes. Then he requested a private meeting with the human contingent. They gathered in a conference room, 20 humans facing one massive Kresh warrior. The power imbalance was obvious, deliberate. This was meant to intimidate. "I come with a message from my government," Vash began, his voice like grinding stone. Prince Vex acted without authorization. His conspiracy was his own foolishness. The Kresh Dominion does not endorse such methods. "That's good to hear," Jinho replied carefully. "However," Vash leaned forward, "that does not mean we welcome your presence. Humans are disruptive. You challenge traditions, question established hierarchies, introduce chaos into orderly systems. The Kresh value strength, honor, and stability. You threaten all three. We only seek to learn and contribute, Hieri said. And in doing so, you change everything around you. Perhaps that is your nature. But understand this. The galaxy is not just the Coalition. There are species and governments beyond these walls who see humanity's rise with deep concern. Not everyone will express that concern through official channels. Is that a threat? Do-Yoon asked. It is a warning. You have made allies here at the Academy, in the Coalition Council, among those who value progress. But you have also made enemies. Powerful ones who will not be as easily exposed as Prince Vex was. The meeting ended shortly after, leaving the humans unsettled. They had known not everyone accepted them, but hearing it stated so bluntly was different. He is trying to scare you, Aaron said when Jinho told her about it. The Kresh respect strength, but fear change. They see humans as unpredictable, and that frightens them. Should we be worried? Yes, but not paralyzed. You continue doing what you have been doing, living, learning, proving your worth. The enemies will always exist, but so will allies. She had her own battles to fight. Her family's political position had weakened significantly. Rival Velthara houses were using her association with humans to attack her father's rule. Rumors spread that she had abandoned her own people for primitive aliens. They say I have been compromised, she told Jinho one evening. They sat in the garden as the alien sunset painted the sky. That I can no longer think clearly because I have formed emotional attachments to humans. Have you? Of course. You are my friend. I care about your well-being. But that does not compromise my judgment. It enhances it. I see clearly now what I was blind to before. Friendship, respect, value, these things are not limited by species. They are universal. Your people do not see it that way? Many do not. They see it as weakness. The Velthara have always prided themselves on emotional control, on logic over feeling. To them, caring about another species beyond political calculation is irrational. What will you do? She was quiet for a long moment. I will face a choice soon. My family wants me to return home permanently. They believe my presence here is damaging our political position beyond repair. If I stay, I may lose my title, my inheritance, everything. Jinho felt his chest tighten. You cannot give up everything for us. That is too much. Is it? You gave up safety. You stayed here despite assassination attempts, despite hostility, despite knowing every day could bring new danger. You did it because you believed it mattered. How am I different? You are a princess. You have responsibilities. And you are a human, representing your entire species. We both carry weight beyond ourselves. The question is whether we carry it with courage or set it down because it becomes too heavy. The political situation continued to deteriorate over the following weeks. Aaron's father, Emperor Kale, faced a vote of no confidence from the Velthara High Council. The charges were numerous, but they all centered around one theme: inappropriate support for humanity at the expense of Velthara interests. The hearing was broadcast across the coalition. Jinho watched from the academy, his heart sinking as he saw the Emperor defending his choices. I am accused of placing human interests above my own people, Emperor Kale said, his voice echoing through the council chamber. This is false. I have placed the interests of progress, of justice, of building a better future above the comfort of maintaining old prejudices. If that makes me unfit to rule, then perhaps the Velthara do not deserve the future I envision. The vote came down to a single council member. At the last moment, one of the Emperor's oldest critics changed her vote. The motion failed by the narrowest margin. Later, that council member gave an interview explaining her decision. I watched the footage from the Grand Symposium. I saw humans dragging my granddaughter to safety while others ran. She lived because of their courage. I cannot in good conscience punish those who advocate for such beings. Perhaps the Emperor is right. Perhaps we have become too comfortable, too certain of our superiority. Perhaps we need disruption. The near disaster strengthened Emperor Kale's position in an unexpected way. His willingness to risk everything for his principles inspired others. More voices began speaking in support of human integration, not just in the Velthara Empire, but across the coalition. Aaron returned to the academy after the vote, exhausted but relieved. "We survived," she told Jinho. "Barely. But it's not over. The opposition will regroup and try again. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Do not be. It clarified things. My family now understands what we're fighting for. Not just human rights, but the principle that the galaxy can change, must change, or it will stagnate and die." The semester was ending. Final exams approached. The 20 human students, 18 now after 2 more had left, gathered for a final meeting before the break. "We made it," Doyun said, almost disbelieving. "We actually made it through the first year." "With honors," Hieri added. "Our grades average higher than most species. Turns out Deathworlders are good at academic pressure, too." "What happens next?" a younger student asked. "Do we come back? Do we keep fighting?" Everyone looked at Jinho. Again, somehow, he had become the voice of their group. "We come back," he said simply. "Not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. We have proven humans belong here. Now we need to prove we can thrive here. Each year will be easier than the last. The path we walk for everyone who comes after." On the last day, before ships arrived to take students home, Jinho and Aaron met one final time in the garden. "Will you return next semester?" she asked. "Of course. Will you?" "My family wants me to take a more active role in governing. They think my time here has run its course. But I am not finished learning, and I am not finished fighting for the galaxy I want to see. So yes, I will return." They stood together, looking at the academy buildings. So much had happened within those walls. Friendships formed across impossible divides, prejudices challenged and sometimes overcome, a vision of a different future, one where every species had value. "You know what I realized?" Aaron said quietly. "When I grabbed your wrist that first day, I thought I was doing you a favor, giving a poor human a seat among the elite. I was so arrogant. You were not that bad. I was exactly that bad. But you were patient with me. You showed me what humanity really meant. Not luck or stubbornness, but genuine courage. The will to keep trying even when the universe says you cannot succeed. We learned it from Earth. Earth never let us succeed easily. We had to fight for everything. And now you have brought that fight to the stars." She turned to face him fully. "My people have a tradition. When someone changes your world fundamentally, you acknowledge it with a formal oath. It binds you to them as allies, as friends, as family. Aaron, I, Princess Aaron of the Velthara Empire, acknowledge Jinho of Earth as kin. His struggles are mine. His enemies are mine. His victories are mine. By the light of all stars, this I swear." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. An alien princess had just claimed a human as family. The political implications were enormous. "You did not have to do that," Jinho said softly. "Yes, I did. You showed me the future. The least I can do is stand beside you as we build it." Ships began arriving, picking up students for the journey home. Earth's shuttle came last, as always. The human students boarded together, exhausted but triumphant. As the shuttle lifted off, Jinho looked down at the academy growing smaller below. He thought about that first day, searching desperately for a seat, being rejected by everyone. Then a hand had grabbed his wrist and everything changed. Beside him, Hieri was already asleep. Doyun stared out the window, lost in thought. The others talked quietly, processing everything they had experienced. Earth appeared in the viewport eventually, that blue and white marble that had given birth to a species that refused to quit. Jinho felt a surge of pride and hope. They had done it. Against all odds, they had proven humanity belonged among the stars. But more than that, they had proven something else. That the measure of a species was not its technology or power, but its character, its willingness to help others, its courage in facing the unknown, its determination to build bridges rather than walls. As the shuttle descended toward Earth, Jinho allowed himself a smile. The first year was over. Many more lay ahead. There would be more challenges, more enemies, more battles to fight. But humanity had faced worse and survived. They were Death-worlders after all. And now the galaxy was finally beginning to understand what that really meant. Not lucky primitives who stumbled into space, but survivors who earned every inch of their progress through sweat, sacrifice, and an absolute refusal to give up. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity. Together, they would forge something new, a future where every species, no matter how different, had a place among the stars. Fortune favors the bold, Jinho thought, remembering his words to Aaron, and humanity was the boldest species the galaxy had ever seen. The shuttle landed. The doors opened. Jinho stepped out onto Earth's soil, home at last. But part of him was already thinking about returning to the academy, to continuing the work they had started. Because the real journey was just beginning. And humans had always been good at long journeys. They had, after all, walked all the way from the mud to the stars. What was a little further?